altercations, but the girls seem fascinated, and in their sweet and liberal naivety are saying that loyalty is a good thing. And they had a bloke from prison who came into their school once and told them how he had completely turned his life around. After serving time over drugs. Covered in tattoos, he was covered. Wow. Jail. So what was that really like? It is at this point I consider my role. Privately, I am picturing Anna's mother toasting her bottom by her aga, worrying with her husband if their little girl will be alright, and he is telling her not to fuss so. They are growing up fast. Sensible girls. They will be fine, love. And I am thinking that they are not fine at all. For Carl is now thinking that the safest thing for the girls would be to have someone who knows London well chaperoning them during their visit. Carl and Anthony are going to stay with friends in Vauxhall and fancy a big night to celebrate their release. How about they meet the girls after the theater and try the club together? This is when I decide that I need to phone the girls' parents. They have named their hamlet. Anna lives on a farm. It's not rocket science. I can phone the post office or local pub. How many farms can there be? But now Anna isn't sure at all. No, they should probably have an early night so they can hit the shops tomorrow morning. They have this plan, see, to go to Liberty's first thing. Because Sarah is determined to try on something by Stella McCartney and get a picture on her phone. Good girl, I am thinking. Sensible girl. Spare me the intervention, Anna. But there is a complication, for Sarah seems suddenly to have taken a shine to Anthony. There is a second trip to the buffet and they swap seats on their return. Anna now sitting with Carl and Sarah with Anthony, who is telling her about his regrets at stuffing up his life. He only, and that's when I hear them. No shame. No attempt even to keep themselves quiet about it. Making out, loud and proud, in the train toilet. Rutting in the cubicle like a pair of animals. I know it's them from what he's saying. How long it's been. How grateful he is. Sarah, oh Sarah. And yes, I admit it. I am completely shocked to the core of my very being. Hot with humiliation. Furious. Winded and desperate, more than anything on this planet, to escape the noise. Also the shame of my naivety. My ridiculous assumptions. I stumble across the corridor to the next set of automatic doors and into the carriage, breathless and flustered in the scramble to put distance between myself and the evidence of my miscalculation. Nice girls. In the buffet queue, I am listening again to the pulse in my ear as I wonder if someone else will have heard them by now. Even reported them. And then I am thinking, report them. Report them to whom? Ella, will you just listen to yourself? Other people will do precisely what you should have done from the off. They will mind their own. At which point my emotions begin to change and I am wondering instead how I came to be this out of touch, this buttoned up, this woman who evidently has not the first clue about young people, or anything much. Into my head now a kaleidoscope of memories. Pictures torn around the edges. The magazines we found in our son's room. That night after the cinema when we came home early. To find Luke trying to override the Sky security to watch porn. So that on this wretched train, I find that I need very urgently to speak to my husband. To my Tony. To reset my compass. I need to ask him if the whole problem here is not with them but with me. Am I altogether ridiculous, Tony? No, really. I need you to be honest with me. When we had that row over the Sky channels and Luke's magazines. Am I the most terrible prude? Am I? I do try to ring him, actually, that night from the hotel. After the conference session, I want to tell him how I did the sensible thing and moved to the other end of the train. Minded my own. The girl's clearly quite streetwise enough. But he is out and hasn't taken his mobile, being one of the few who still thinks they give you brain cancer, and so I speak instead to Luke and find that it calms me to hear him describe supper, a tagine from a recipe he downloaded on a new app. He loves to cook, my Luke, and I am teasing him about the state of the kitchen, betting he has used every appliance and pan on the property. Then it is the morning in the hotel. I so hate this sensation, that out of body numbness born of air conditioning, a foreign bed, and lack of discipline over the minibar. My hotel treat, a brandy or two after a long day. It is barely 6:30 and I long for more sleep. 10 futile minutes and I give up, eyeing the sachets of sadness in the little bowl alongside the kettle. I always do this in hotel rooms. Kid myself that I will drink instant coffee just this once, only to pour it down the bathroom sink. I stare at the line of empty miniatures, wincing as a terrible thought flutters into the room. I glance at the phone by the bed and feel a punch of dread, the familiar frisson of fear that I have done something embarrassing, something I am going to regret. I turn back to the row of bottles and remember that after the second brandy last night, I decided to phone directory enquiries to track down the girl's parents. I go cold momentarily at the thought of this, my memory still hazy. Did you actually ring? Think, Ella, think. I stare again at the phone and concentrate hard. Ah, yes, I am remembering now, my shoulders relaxing as I finally see it. I was holding the phone and then at the very point of dialing, I realized that I wasn't thinking straight, and not just because of the brandy. My motivation was skewed. I wanted to phone not because I was worried for the girls, but as a punishment. Because I was angry at how Sarah had made me feel. And so I did the sensible thing. I put the phone back down, I turned out the light and I went to sleep. Good. This is very good. The relief now so overwhelming that I decide by way of celebration that I will try the instant coffee after all. I flick on the kettle first and then the television. And that is when it comes. The single moment, suspended at first and then stretching beyond this room, beyond this city. The moment in time in which I realize my life is never going to be the same again. Not ever. The sound is muted from the late night film I watched, with the subtitles on to spare disturbing the guests next door. But the picture is unmistakable. Beautiful. A photograph from her Facebook page. Her green eyes glowing and her blonde hair cascading down her back. She is at the beach. I recognize St. Michael's Mount behind her. And somehow my body has zoomed backwards through the pillow in the bedstead and the wall until I am watching the screen from much further away. This screen that is scrolling putrid, awful words, missing Anna. The kettle screaming angry clouds onto the mirror while I am planning the calls in my head all at once. A black and terrible jumble of excuses. None of them good enough. To the police. To Tony. You have to understand that I was going to phone.